The penthouse elevator doors slid open at exactly 7:30, and Julian Ashford stood frozen in his marble foyer, his hand still gripping the wine bottle he'd been about to open. This had to be a joke. A sick, twisted joke. The woman stepping out of the elevator was beautiful, that much was true. Her deep brown skin glowed under the crystal chandelier lights, her natural hair pulled back in an elegant bun. She wore a modest green dress that suggested church services and Sunday dinners rather than expensive restaurants. But that wasn't what made Julian's jaw clench. It was the small child clutching her hand. A little girl, maybe 5 years old, with beaded braids and the biggest brown eyes Julian had ever seen, wearing a bright red dress with white flowers. She looked up at the towering ceiling and gasped. "Mommy, is this heaven?" Julian's grip on the wine bottle tightened. 3 months of his assistant setting him up on disastrous blind dates, and now this? Sending a woman with a child to mock him? To remind him of everything he didn't have? "I'm so sorry," the woman said, her voice soft but steady. She didn't step further into the penthouse. "There's been a terrible mistake. The dating service gave me this address, but clearly..." She looked around at the opulence surrounding them. "This wasn't meant for someone like me." "Mommy, why are you crying?" the little girl asked. Julian looked closer. The woman wasn't crying, but her eyes were bright with unshed tears. Embarrassment, maybe. Or shame. Something in his chest twisted painfully. "The dating service?" Julian repeated slowly. "Prestige connections?" She nodded. "I won a free evening through a community center raffle. I couldn't afford a babysitter, and they said it would be fine to bring my daughter. That it was just a casual dinner to meet new people." She laughed, but it was hollow. "I should have known better. Nothing is ever really free." The little girl tugged her mother's hand. "Can we go home now? I'm hungry." Julian should send them away. He should call his assistant and scream about this disaster. He should pour himself 3 fingers of scotch and add this to the growing list of reasons why he was meant to be alone. Instead, he heard himself say, "Have you eaten?" The woman blinked. "I'm sorry? Dinner. Have you and your daughter eaten dinner?" "No, but we can't." She started backing toward the elevator. "Please." The word came out rougher than Julian intended. He cleared his throat. "There's been a mistake, yes. But that doesn't mean you should leave hungry. I have a table set for 2. There's plenty of food." The chef prepared enough to feed a small army as usual. The woman studied him with eyes that had seen too much hardship. Julian recognized that look. He'd seen it in his own mirror during those early years before the billions, before the success, when he was just a scared kid trying to survive. "Why would you do that?" she asked quietly. "Because..." Julian set down the wine bottle. "Because nobody should go hungry. And because your daughter is right. She should eat." The little girl peeked around her mother's legs. "I like chicken nuggets." Despite everything, Julian smiled. "I think we can do better than chicken nuggets. How about we see what Chef Bernard prepared?" The woman hesitated, her hand protectively on her daughter's shoulder. Julian could see her weighing options, calculating risks, trying to decide if accepting kindness from a stranger was worth whatever consequences might follow. "My name is Brianna," she finally said. "Brianna Cole. This is my daughter, Nia." Julian Ashford. He extended his hand, and after a moment she shook it. Her palm was rough, the hands of someone who worked hard for a living. "Please come in. Just dinner. No expectations. No strings." Brianna knelt down to her daughter's level. "Nia, baby, this man has invited us to have dinner with him. Can you be on your very best behavior?" "I'm always good, Mommy." Nia's voice carried the confidence of a child who believed herself to be perfect. As they walked into the dining area, Nia's eyes grew wider with each step. The floor-to-ceiling windows showcased the city lights twinkling 40 stories below. The table was set with fine china, crystal glasses, and silver that caught the light. "Mommy, are we really in heaven?" Brianna's voice was tight. "No, baby. We're just visiting someone's very nice home." Julian pulled out chairs for both of them. Brianna looked uncomfortable but sat down, pulling Nia into the seat beside her. The child's feet dangled well above the floor. "I'll need to get a phone book or something," Julian muttered, looking around. "Hey, what?" Nia asked. Julian realized his mistake. "Never mind. Let me find some cushions." He returned with 3 throw pillows from his study, which Brianna stacked carefully under Nia. The little girl giggled as she rose higher, now able to see the table properly. Chef Bernard appeared from the kitchen, his expression carefully neutral despite the obvious surprise at seeing a child at the table. "Mr. Ashford, shall I bring out the first course?" "Please." And Bernard, could we possibly make something child-friendly as well? The chef's professional mask cracked into a genuine smile. Of course, sir. I believe I have just the thing. As Bernard disappeared, an awkward silence settled over the table. Nia swung her legs back and forth, humming softly to herself. Brianna sat with perfect posture, her hands folded in her lap, looking like she wanted to bolt. So, Julian started, then realized he had no idea what to say. He ran a billion-dollar company. He negotiated deals worth millions every day. But sitting across from a woman and her child, he was completely lost. I work in tech, he finally said. Software development, mostly. Brianna nodded. That's nice. What do you do? I'm a nurse. At County General. The night shift. That must be difficult. Especially with... He gestured toward Nia. My neighbor watches her while I work. Mrs. Chin. She's elderly but sharp as a tack. Nia loves her. Brianna's shoulders relaxed slightly as she talked about her daughter. During the day, Nia goes to preschool while I sleep. We make it work. I bet you have to help lots of people who are sick, Nia chimed in. Mommy says helping people is the most important job in the world. Your mother is right, Julian said, looking at Nia properly for the first time. She had her mother's eyes, full of light despite whatever hardships they'd faced. Helping people is important. Bernard returned with the first course. A delicate soup for the adults and a small plate of perfectly seasoned pasta for Nia, cut into tiny pieces with some vegetables arranged in a smiley face. Nia clapped her hands. It's smiling at me. Chef Bernard is very talented, Julian said. They ate in relative silence for a few minutes. Julian noticed Brianna ate slowly, savoring each bite like it might be her last. Nia, on the other hand, attacked her pasta with enthusiasm, getting sauce on her chin. Nia, a napkin? Brianna reminded gently. Sorry, Mommy. Julian found himself relaxing. This wasn't what he'd expected for the evening, not by a long shot. But there was something peaceful about it. Something real. Can I ask you something? Brianna said suddenly. Of course. Why did you really invite us to stay? You don't know us. We could be anyone. Julian set down his spoon. Honestly? I'm not sure. Maybe because I spend every day surrounded by people who want something from me. Money, connections, opportunities. Your daughter asked if this was heaven, and you looked like you wanted the earth to swallow you whole. There was no angle. No agenda. It was just, honest. Brianna's eyes softened. I enter one raffle in 5 years thinking maybe I could meet some friends, expand my world a little, and instead I end up in a penthouse with a... She paused. Stranger, Julian finished. I know. A stranger who makes sure my daughter has something to eat, Brianna corrected. That's not nothing. The main course arrived. Perfectly prepared salmon with roasted vegetables for the adults, and a small portion of chicken with rice for Nia, arranged to look like a garden. Is that a flower? Nia pointed at the arrangement. The chef made it special for you, Julian explained. Thank you, Mr. Chef. Nia called toward the kitchen. Bernard's head appeared around the doorway and he winked at her. You're welcome, little miss. As they ate, Brianna slowly opened up. She told Julian about Nia's preschool, about how her daughter loved to paint and dance. She mentioned that Nia needed new glasses soon, and the insurance at the hospital didn't quite cover everything. She talked about her dreams of maybe one day going back to school to become a nurse practitioner. What's stopping you? Julian asked. Brianna looked at him like he'd asked why she couldn't fly to the moon. Time. Money. Childcare. Take your pick. But if those things weren't obstacles? Then I'd do it in a heartbeat. Her voice carried a fierce determination. I want Nia to see that you don't give up on your dreams. That you work for what you want. Julian felt something shift in his chest. This woman, working herself to exhaustion, raising a child alone, still had hope. Still had dreams. While he sat in his penthouse every night, with everything money could buy and nothing that mattered. Dessert came out, chocolate mousse for the adults and a small sundae for Nia, who gasped like she'd been given the greatest treasure in the world. Mommy, ice cream. I see that, baby. What do you say? Thank you, Mr. Julian. Hearing his name from that small voice did something to Julian. He'd spent years building walls, protecting himself from getting hurt. But this child, with her braided hair and her red dress and her pure joy over a simple sundae, slipped right through every defense. After dinner, Nia was starting to yawn. Brianna checked her watch and stood up quickly. We should go. We've taken up enough of your evening. You didn't take up anything, Julian said, standing as well. This was nice. Really nice. Brianna gathered their things, a well-worn purse and Nia's small backpack. As they walked to the elevator, Julian found himself not wanting them to leave. Brianna, wait. She turned, Nia half asleep against her shoulder. You mentioned Nia needs glasses. Brianna's expression immediately closed off. We'll manage. We always do. I know you will. But what if you didn't have to? What if someone wanted to help? Mr. Ashford. Julian. Please. Julian. She took a deep breath. I can't accept charity. It's not charity. It's... He struggled to find the words. It's someone who has more than he could ever need wanting to help someone who deserves it. Your daughter needs glasses. I can make that happen with one phone call. Please don't let pride stop you from accepting. Tears filled Brianna's eyes. Why would you do this? Because I can. Because I should. Because tonight, you and Nia reminded me what actually matters. Julian pulled out his wallet and extracted a business card. My personal number is on there. Call me tomorrow. We'll figure out the glasses situation and anything else Nia needs. Brianna stared at the card like it might burn her. Then, slowly she took it. Thank you, she whispered. You have no idea what this means. I think I'm starting to understand. As the elevator doors closed on Brianna and Nia, Julian stood in his empty penthouse and realized something had fundamentally changed. The walls he'd built so carefully had cracks now. And for the first time in years he didn't want to repair them. His phone rang. His assistant, probably calling to apologize for the mix-up. Julian looked at the 3-place settings still on his dining table, at the cushions stacked on one chair, at the chocolate smudge on the edge of a crystal glass where small fingers had touched it. He smiled and let the call go to voicemail. Some mistakes, he thought, turn out to be exactly what you needed all along. Have you ever met someone who changed your entire life in just one evening? Someone who walked through a door you thought would lead nowhere and instead opened up a whole new world? If this story is touching your heart already, please subscribe to see how Julian, Brianna, and little Nia's journey unfolds. Comment below. Do you believe in unexpected second chances? Your support helps share stories of hope and love with others who need them. Brianna Cole sat on the edge of her worn sofa at 2 in the morning, Julian Ashford's business card between her fingers. Nia had fallen asleep hours ago, curled up in the small bedroom they shared, her breath soft and even. But Brianna couldn't sleep. Her mind kept replaying the evening, searching for the catch, the trick, the moment when everything would make sense. Rich men didn't just invite struggling single mothers to dinner. They didn't offer to pay for medical expenses without wanting something in return. There had to be an angle. Except Julian Ashford's eyes hadn't held calculation. They'd held loneliness. Brianna recognized it because she wore the same expression every time she passed a mirror. Working nights, sleeping during the day while Nia was at preschool, existing in this strange half-life where she was too exhausted to have friends and too proud to ask for help. The community center raffle had seemed like a gift from heaven. A chance to have one nice evening to remember what it felt like to be something other than tired. Instead, she'd ended up in a billionaire's penthouse with her daughter, being treated with more kindness than anyone had shown her in 3 years. Her phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Chin, her elderly neighbor. Did you have a nice evening, dear? Brianna smiled and typed back, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. Try me. I've seen stranger things in my 80 years. Brianna found herself typing out the whole story. The mix-up, the penthouse, little Nia asking if it was heaven, the dinner, the offer to help with glasses. When she finished, she waited for Mrs. Chen's response. Sometimes angels come in unexpected packages. Don't overthink kindness, Brianna. Learn to receive it as gracefully as you give it. Brianna read those words 3 times before setting her phone down. Mrs. Chin was right. She spent every night at the hospital giving everything she had to her patients, but when someone tried to help her, she built walls. Maybe it was time to let someone in. She picked up Julian's card again. Tomorrow. She would call him tomorrow. Julian arrived at his office at 7 in the morning, having barely slept. His assistant, Patricia, looked up from her desk in surprise. You're here early. And you're smiling. Did the date go well? There was a mix-up, Julian said, heading toward his office. But yes, it went well. What kind of mix-up? Julian paused in his doorway. The kind that makes you question everything you thought you knew about what you want. Patricia raised an eyebrow. That's cryptic. I need you to do something for me. Contact the best optometrist in the city. Pediatric specialist. Tell them money is no object and I need an appointment as soon as possible. For a 5-year-old girl who needs glasses. Patricia blinked. Sir? Also, I want information on the nursing program at the university. Full details on curriculum, costs, how long it takes to become a nurse practitioner. Are you feeling all right? Julian laughed, really laughed for the first time in months. Actually, Patricia, I think I might be feeling better than I have in years. Just trust me on this. His assistant made notes, her expression bemused. Anything else? Yes. If a woman named Brianna Cole calls, put her through immediately. No matter what I'm doing. Brianna Cole, Patricia repeated, typing the name. Got it? Should I ask what this is about? It's about? Julian thought about Nia's face when she saw the pasta arranged in a smiley face, about Brianna's eyes when she talked about her dreams. It's about doing something that actually matters. The call came at 11:30. Julian was in a meeting with his development team when Patricia's message popped up on his phone. Brianna Cole on line 1. Excuse me, Julian said, standing abruptly. I need to take this. His team exchanged confused glances as he walked out of the conference room. Brianna? Hi. Her voice was soft, uncertain. I hope I'm not interrupting anything important. Nothing is more important than this call. Julian meant it. How are you? How's Nia? She's good. She's been talking about the dinner all morning. She told her preschool teacher that she had ice cream in heaven. Brianna laughed, and Julian found himself smiling at the sound. Her teacher is concerned. I can imagine. Pause. Then, about the glasses. I've already made an appointment. Best pediatric optometrist in the city, Dr. Sarah Martinez. This Thursday at 3. Does that work? Julian, I can't just, this is too much. Is Thursday bad? We can reschedule. That's not. Brianna sighed. You're making this very difficult. Good. Because you're making it difficult to help you, and that's frustrating. Julian softened his voice. Brianna, I meant what I said. I want to do this. Please let me. Another long pause. Julian could almost hear her internal debate. Thursday at 3, she finally said. We'll be there. Great. I'll meet you there. You don't have to. I want to. If that's okay. Why are you doing this? The question was quiet but full of confusion and something that might have been hope. Julian looked out his office window at the city below. Because last night was the first time in years I felt like I was doing something real. Something that mattered. And I'd like to feel that way again. We're not a charity project. I know. You're. He searched for the right words. You're people I'm starting to care about. Is that allowed? Brianna's breath caught. I don't know. I've been alone for so long I've forgotten how to let people in. Me too, Julian admitted. Maybe we can figure it out together. Maybe, Brianna agreed. I have to go. My shift starts soon. Thursday at 3. Thursday at 3. After she hung up, Julian stood by the window for a long time, feeling something he hadn't felt in years, anticipation for the future. Thursday arrived with perfect autumn weather. Julian left the office early, telling Patricia he had an important appointment. He arrived at Dr. Martinez's office 10 minutes before Brianna and Nia, giving him time to handle the financial arrangements privately. Mr. Ashford, Dr. Martinez said when he explained the situation, I want you to know this is incredibly generous. Most children in Nia's situation would struggle to get proper eye care. Then let's make sure she gets the best, Julian said simply. Brianna arrived exactly at 3 holding Nia's hand. The little girl wore bright blue overalls today, her braids tied with yellow ribbons. When she saw Julian, her face lit up. Mr. Julian, you're here. I told you I would be. He knelt down to her level. Are you ready to pick out some glasses? Will they make me look smart? You already look smart. The glasses will just help you see better. Brianna stood a few feet away, watching the exchange with an expression Julian couldn't quite read. He stood and met her eyes. Thank you for coming. Thank you for. She gestured around. All of this. The appointment took about an hour. Nia was a champ, sitting still while Dr. Martinez examined her eyes, answering questions seriously. When it came time to pick out frames, she gravitated immediately to a pair of red glasses with small flowers on the sides. These ones, Mommy. They match my favorite dress. Those are perfect, Brianna said, her voice thick. Dr. Martinez adjusted the sample frames on Nia's face. These will be ready in about a week. We'll call when they come in. As they left the office, Nia skipped between Julian and Brianna, holding both their hands. To anyone watching, they probably looked like a family. The thought should have terrified Julian. Instead, it felt right. Can we get ice cream? Nia asked. Please? Brianna started to say they needed to go home, but Julian cut in. I know a great place around the corner. My treat. Julian? Ice cream, Brianna. Not a car. Let me buy the kid some ice cream. She laughed, shaking her head. You're impossible. I prefer determined. The ice cream shop was small and cheerful, with bright green walls covered in paintings by local artists. Nia chose chocolate with rainbow sprinkles. Brianna got vanilla. Julian ordered strawberry and paid before Brianna could even reach for her purse. They sat at a small table by the window, Nia working on her cone with serious concentration. She's going to need new clothes soon, Brianna said quietly, watching her daughter. She's growing so fast. And preschool has a field trip next month to the zoo. It's $15. I've been putting aside a little each week, but it's tight, Julian finished. Everything is tight. Brianna met his eyes. I'm not complaining. I'm grateful for what we have. But sometimes I lie awake at night and wonder what kind of life I'm giving her. Is it enough? Am I enough? You're more than enough, Julian said firmly. Nia is happy, healthy, and clearly loved. That's what matters. Love doesn't pay for zoo trips. No, but I can. Brianna closed her eyes. Julian? Before you say no, just listen. I'm not trying to take over your life. I'm not trying to replace you or make you feel less than. I just want to help make things easier. Not because I think you can't handle it, but because you shouldn't have to handle it all alone. I've been alone for 3 years. Since Nia's father decided being a parent was too hard and walked away. Brianna's voice was bitter. I've learned not to depend on anyone. I'm not him. I know. That's what scares me. She looked at Julian with eyes full of fear and hope tangled together. What if I let you in and you decide it's too much? What if Nia gets attached and you disappear? I can survive being hurt. But watching my daughter's heart break? I can't do that. Julian reached across the table and took her hand. Her fingers were cold despite the warm day. I can't promise I'll be perfect. I'll probably mess up. But I can promise I won't just disappear. Whatever this is, whatever we're building here, I'm in it. Fully. This is crazy, Brianna whispered. We barely know each other. Then let's fix that. Have dinner with me. Tomorrow night. A real date this time. No mix-ups, no accidents. Just us getting to know each other. And Nia? Mrs. Chin if she's available? Or I can arrange a babysitter. Someone vetted and trustworthy. Brianna bit her lip, thinking. Finally she nodded. Okay. Tomorrow night. But somewhere normal. No penthouse dining rooms or expensive restaurants. Somewhere real. Julian smiled. I know just the place. Nia looked up from her ice cream, now more on her face than in her stomach. Mommy, you're smiling. You never smile like that. Brianna blushed. I smile. Not like that. That's your happy smile. Julian caught Brianna's eye and they both laughed. Out of the mouths of babes, Brianna muttered. They walked Brianna and Nia to the bus stop afterward. Julian wanted to offer his car and driver, but he could sense Brianna's limits. Baby steps. Thank you, Brianna said as the bus appeared in the distance. For everything. The glasses, the ice cream, the listening. Thank you for letting me help. For trusting me. I'm trying. That's all I ask. Nia hugged Julian's legs before climbing onto the bus. Bye, Mr. Julian. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow, sweetheart. As the bus pulled away, Julian stood on the sidewalk, watching until it disappeared around a corner. His phone buzzed with messages from the office. Meetings he'd missed, decisions that needed making, problems requiring his attention. None of it seemed as important as the feeling of Nia's small arms around his legs or the sound of Brianna's laughter. He'd spent years building an empire. But maybe, just maybe, he was about to build something better. A family. His phone rang. Patricia. There's a crisis with the Johnston account, she said without preamble. They're threatening to pull out. Tell them I'll call Monday. Monday? Julian, this is a $40 million account. And this is my life, Patricia. Tell them Monday. He hung up before she could argue and headed back to his car, already planning where he would take Brianna tomorrow night. Somewhere normal, she'd said. Somewhere real. Julian realized he was more excited about a regular dinner date than he'd been about any business deal in the last decade. Maybe that's what love felt like when it started. Like the world was shifting, reorienting itself around something new and precious and terrifying. Maybe that's what it felt like to finally come home. Friday evening found Julian standing outside a small Italian restaurant in Brianna's neighborhood, feeling more nervous than he had during any board meeting. He'd traded his usual designer suit for dark jeans and a simple blue button-down shirt. Brianna had said, "Somewhere normal," and he was determined to get it right. She arrived exactly on time, wearing a deep maroon dress that brought out the warmth in her brown skin. Her hair fell in natural curls around her shoulders. She looked beautiful and real, and Julian's heart skipped. "Hi," he said, suddenly feeling like a teenager on his first date. "Hi yourself." She looked him over and smiled. "You look different." "Good different. I figured the three-piece suit might be overkill for Antonio's." "You know Antonio's?" "I did my research. Best pasta in the neighborhood, family-owned, cash only, and they make their sauce from their grandmother's recipe." Brianna laughed. "You really did your homework. I wanted to do this right." They went inside, and Antonio himself greeted them, a round man in his 60s with flour on his apron and joy in his eyes. "Brianna. It's been too long." "And who is this?" "This is Julian." "Julian, Antonio makes the best food in the city." No, the best food in the world," Antonio corrected, leading them to a small table by the window. "My grandmother would haunt me if I said anything less." They ordered wine and the house special, settling into the kind of easy conversation that felt both new and familiar. "Tell me about Nia's father," Julian said carefully. "Only if you want to." Brianna sipped her wine. "His name is Marcus." "Wait, that doesn't matter. The man who was supposed to be Nia's father left when she was 2. She had some health issues as a baby, nothing serious but scary at the time. He said he couldn't handle the stress. Couldn't handle the crying, the doctor visits, the reality of being a parent." She stared at her glass. "Turns out he could handle abandoning his family though." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. He did us a favor. Better to know who he really was early on than waste years on someone who wasn't worth it." Her voice was strong, but Julian could hear the old hurt underneath. "Nia doesn't remember him. She's never asked about having a father. For her, it's always just been us. That takes incredible strength. Or incredible stubbornness. Some days I'm not sure which." She smiled sadly. "What about you? What's the story of Julian Ashford? Why is a billionaire eating pasta in a neighborhood restaurant with a nurse?" Julian leaned back. "Long story or short version? We have time." So Julian told her. About growing up poor, about his mother working 3 jobs to keep them fed. About teaching himself to code at the library because they couldn't afford a computer. About the scholarship that changed everything, the first software program he sold, the company he built from nothing. "I spent years proving I could make it," he said. "Building the business, making money, showing everyone who said I'd never amount to anything that they were wrong. And then one day I woke up and realized I'd won. I had everything I thought I wanted. The penthouse, the cars, the respect. But," Brianna prompted. "But I was alone. Every woman I dated wanted the money or the status. Every friend I made had an angle. I stopped trusting people. Stopped trying." He met her eyes. "Until a woman and her daughter showed up at my penthouse by accident and reminded me what actually feeling something was like. We're not that special. You are to me." The food arrived, steaming plates of pasta that smelled like heaven. They ate and talked, covering everything from favorite books to childhood dreams to what they thought made a good life. "I want Nia to go to college," Brianna said. "I want her to have choices I never had. To not have to struggle the way I did." "What about what you want? Besides things for Nia?" Brianna paused, fork halfway to her mouth. "I haven't thought about that in a long time." "Think about it now." She set down her fork. "I want to go back to school. Become a nurse practitioner. I want to help people more effectively, have more knowledge, more tools. I want—" She stopped. "What?" "I want to not be tired all the time. I want to wake up and not immediately calculate how many hours until I have to sleep again. I want to take Nia to the park without worrying about which bill I'm not paying that week." She looked embarrassed. "That sounds ungrateful." "It sounds honest." "Honest doesn't pay the rent." Julian set down his wine glass. "What if it didn't have to? What if I could help make some of those wants into reality?" "Julian, we've talked about this." "I know. But hear me out. I'm not offering to take over your life. I'm offering to make things easier so you can actually live it." He leaned forward. "Let me help with Nia's preschool tuition. Let me help you go back to school. Not because you can't do it yourself, but because you shouldn't have to choose between your dreams and your daughter's needs." Brianna's eyes filled with tears. "Why would you do all this?" "Because watching you struggle when I have the means to help feels wrong. Because Nia deserves to have her mother not exhausted all the time. Because—" He took a breath. "Because I'm falling for you, Brianna. And I want to be part of your life. Really part of it. We've known each other less than a week. I know. It's crazy. But that doesn't make it less true. Brianna wiped her eyes. I'm scared. Me too. What if this doesn't work out? What if it does? They sat in silence for a moment, the restaurant buzzing around them. Finally, Brianna reached across the table and took Julian's hand. Okay. Okay, help with the preschool tuition. Okay, help me figure out going back to school. Okay, let's see where this goes. She squeezed his hand. But slowly. I need to protect Nia. And honestly, I need to protect myself too. Whatever pace you need. I'm not going anywhere. They finished dinner, splitting a piece of tiramisu that Antonio insisted they try. As they walked out into the cool evening air, Julian took Brianna's hand naturally and she didn't pull away. Can I walk you home? It's 6 blocks. Good. I could use the exercise. They walked slowly, talking about small things. The changing leaves, Nia's upcoming preschool play, Julian's latest project at work. It felt normal and comfortable and right. When they reached Brianna's building, a tired 4-story walk-up with peeling paint and a door that didn't quite close properly, she turned to face him. Thank you for tonight. For everything. Thank you for taking a chance on me. I'm still terrified. That's okay. I'm terrified too. Brianna stood on her toes and kissed him softly. It was brief, gentle, full of promise and hope and the beginning of something neither of them quite understood yet. Good night, Julian. Good night, Brianna. He watched her go inside, waiting until he saw a light come on in a third-floor window before walking back toward the main street to catch a cab. His phone buzzed. A text from Brianna. Nia wants to know if you'll come to her preschool play next week. It's about vegetables. She's a carrot. Julian laughed and typed back, I wouldn't miss it for the world. Another buzz. You're really in this, aren't you? Completely. Good. Because we are too. Julian hailed a cab, feeling lighter than he had in years. His phone started ringing with work calls, but he silenced it. Some things were more important than business. Some things he was beginning to understand were worth everything. The preschool auditorium was packed with parents, grandparents, and siblings, all crammed onto tiny plastic chairs designed for people a quarter of their size. Julian arrived early, having rearranged an entire morning of meetings to be there. He'd never been to a children's play before. Wasn't sure what to expect. Brianna waved from the third row, and Julian carefully made his way over, apologizing as he squeezed past other parents. You made it, she said, smiling. She wore her nurse scrubs, having come straight from her shift. I said I would. He settled into the chair beside her, his knees practically touching his chest. Are these chairs always this small? Welcome to preschool. Everything is designed for tiny humans. The lights dimmed and a teacher stepped onto the small stage. Welcome everyone to our fall production of The Garden Party. Our students have worked very hard. The curtain opened to reveal a cardboard garden. Children dressed as various vegetables began filing onto the stage. Julian spotted Nia immediately, bright orange costume, green construction paper leaves on her head, and the biggest smile he'd ever seen. That's my baby, Brianna whispered, tears already in her eyes. The play was chaos. Adorable, wonderful chaos. Lines were forgotten. One tomato fell off the stage, unhurt but crying, and the lettuce got stage fright and refused to say anything. But Nia delivered her single line, I'm a carrot and I grow underground, with such conviction that several parents laughed. After the performance, Nia ran straight to them, still in her costume. Did you see me? Did you see me? You were perfect, Brianna said, hugging her daughter. Mr. Julian, you came. Nia threw herself at Julian, who caught her easily. I told you I wouldn't miss it. You were the best carrot I've ever seen. I'm the only carrot you've ever seen, Nia said matter-of-factly. Also true. Around them, other parents were gathering their children, heading out. Julian noticed more than a few curious looks directed their way. A black woman, a white man, and a mixed-race child who clearly adored them both. He could almost hear the speculation. Ice cream? Julian suggested. To celebrate the performance? Yes. Nia cheered. Brianna hesitated. Julian, you don't have to. I want to. Unless you have somewhere else to be. I need to sleep before my shift tonight. Then let me buy you both ice cream and I'll make sure you get home in time to rest. They ended up at the same shop as before. Nia ordered chocolate again, her favorite. As they sat by the window, Nia chattered about the play, about her friends, about everything and nothing. Mrs. Martin said we're doing a Thanksgiving play next, Nia announced. I want to be a turkey. You'll be a great turkey, Julian assured her. Will you come watch that one too? Julian glanced at Brianna, who was watching them with an expression he couldn't quite read. If your mom says it's okay. Please, Mommy? Of course he can come, Brianna said softly. Nia went back to her ice cream, satisfied. When she got distracted by a dog walking past the window, Brianna leaned closer to Julian. She's getting attached to you. Is that a problem? I don't know. Maybe? Brianna twisted her napkin. I need to tell you something. About why Nia's father really left. Julian waited, giving her space to continue. When Nia was a baby, she had some heart issues. Nothing life-threatening, but it required monitoring, medication, careful attention. Her father couldn't handle it. He said he didn't sign up for a sick kid. That it was too hard, too expensive, too much work. Brianna's voice was steady but her hands shook. He left while I was at one of her doctor's appointments. Packed his things and disappeared. I came home to an empty apartment and a note saying he couldn't do it anymore. Brianna. Nia's fine now. She grew out of most of the issues. But I need you to understand what you're getting into. If something happened again, if she got sick or needed help, could you handle it? Because I won't let her get attached to someone who's going to walk away when things get hard. Julian reached across the table and took both her hands in his. I'm not him. Whatever Nia needs, whatever you need, I'm here. Not because everything is easy, but because some things are worth the hard parts. You say that now. And I'll say it tomorrow and next week and next year. Julian squeezed her hands gently. Brianna, I grew up watching my mother struggle alone because my father decided being a parent was too hard. I know what that abandonment does to a family. I would never, ever do that to you or Nia. Tears streamed down Brianna's face. I want to believe you. Then believe me. Trust me. Let me prove it. Nia turned back from watching the dog. Mommy, why are you crying? Happy tears, baby. Sometimes people cry when they're happy. That's silly. Yeah, Brianna laughed, wiping her eyes. It really is. After ice cream, Julian called his driver to take them home. Brianna started to protest, but he cut her off gently. You need to sleep. Let me help. In the car, Nia fell asleep almost immediately, her head on Brianna's lap. Brianna stroked her daughter's hair absently, staring out the window. I've been alone for so long, she said quietly. I forgot what it feels like to have someone to lean on. You're not alone anymore. Neither of us is. When they reached her building, Julian helped carry Nia upstairs. The apartment was small but clean. One bedroom, a tiny kitchen, a living room barely big enough for a couch and television. Pictures of Nia covered every surface. It was clear every penny went to the child. Brianna laid Nia on the bed, pulling off the carrot costume carefully to not wake her. She's going to remember this, Brianna whispered. The play, the ice cream, you being there. She's going to remember that someone cared enough to show up. I plan to show up for a lot more than just plays. They stood in the doorway of the small bedroom, watching Nia sleep. I applied to the nursing program, Brianna said suddenly. At the university. For next fall. That's wonderful. I haven't told anyone else yet. Not even Mrs. Chen. But I wanted you to know. She turned to face him. You made me believe I could do it. That I could want more than just survival. You always could. You just needed someone to remind you. Julian, about the tuition? Already handled. I contacted the preschool this morning. Nia's tuition is paid through the end of the year, and I set up a fund for next year too. Brianna's eyes widened. You did what? I told you I wanted to help. That's thousands of dollars. It's an investment in Nia's future. And yours. I don't know how to repay you. You don't have to. That's not how this works. Julian cupped her face gently. Let me do this, please. Not because you need rescuing, but because I want to be part of your life in real ways. Ways that matter. I'm starting to understand what Mrs. Chen meant. What's that? She said sometimes angels come in unexpected packages and that I needed to learn to receive kindness as gracefully as I give it. Brianna smiled through tears. You're the unexpected package, Julian Ashford. I prefer to think of myself as a gift. She laughed and kissed him, soft and sweet and full of gratitude. When they pulled apart, she rested her forehead against his. Thank you. For everything. For showing up, for staying, for not running when things got complicated. Things aren't complicated. They're just real. Real can be scary. Real can also be wonderful. Julian left her apartment feeling like he was walking on air. His phone was full of messages from work, but for once he didn't care. He'd made it to Nia's play. He'd helped ease some of Brianna's burden. He was building something real with people he was starting to love. The word didn't scare him as much as it should have. Back at his penthouse, Julian stood at the window looking out at the city. A week ago, he'd been a lonely man in an empty apartment, going through the motions of a life that looked successful from the outside but felt hollow inside. Now he had a woman who challenged him to be better and a little girl who called him Mr. Julian and hugged him like he mattered. His phone rang. His mother, someone he only talked to a few times a year despite her living only an hour away. "Hi, Mom. Julian, I hear you've been skipping important meetings. News travels fast. Patricia is worried about you. She says you're distracted." "I'm not distracted. I'm finally paying attention to what matters." Pause. "Who is she?" Julian smiled. "Her name is Brianna. She's a nurse. She has a 5-year-old daughter named Nia." "A daughter?" "Mom, before you say anything, you should know I'm serious about them. More serious than I've been about anything in a long time." Another pause, longer this time. "Then, bring them to Sunday dinner. I want to meet this woman who has my son ignoring his empire." "Really? Really? If she's important to you, she's important to me. Besides, it's been years since we had a child at the table. I miss it." After they hung up, Julian texted Brianna, "Are you and Nia free Sunday afternoon? I'd like you to meet my mother." The response came 5 minutes later, "Are you sure? That's a big step." "I'm sure. If you're comfortable with it." "I'm terrified. But okay. We'll be there. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for being trustworthy." Julian set his phone down and looked around his penthouse. It still felt empty, but now it felt like the emptiness had a purpose. Soon, it would be filled with laughter and conversation and the sound of a child's joy. Soon it would feel like home. Sunday dinner at Eleanor Ashford's house was a production. The elderly woman lived in a beautiful colonial home an hour outside the city. Surrounded by gardens, she still tended herself. Julian drove Brianna and Nia in his car, listening to Nia sing songs from her preschool in the backseat. "You're nervous," Brianna observed, watching Julian's hands grip the steering wheel. "My mother is very direct. She doesn't believe in sugarcoating things. Should we be worried?" "No. But she will ask a lot of questions. Questions I can handle. It's judgment I'm not great with." Julian reached over and took Brianna's hand. "She's going to love you. How could she not?" Nia piped up from the back seat, "Is your mommy nice, Mr. Julian?" "She's wonderful. A little scary sometimes, but wonderful." "My mommy is scary when I don't eat my vegetables." "That's different scary." "My mother is scary when she thinks you're not being honest with yourself." Brianna laughed nervously. "That's not reassuring." Eleanor Ashford met them at the door. She was in her 70s, with silver hair pulled back in an elegant bun and eyes that missed nothing. She wore a practical green dress and gardening gloves. "You must be Brianna," she said, pulling off her gloves to shake hands. "And this beautiful girl must be Nia." "Hi." Nia waved enthusiastically. Come in, come in. Dinner is almost ready." "Nia, do you like roast chicken?" "I like chicken nuggets." Eleanor laughed. "Close enough. Come help me in the kitchen. I need someone to taste test my green beans." To everyone's surprise, Nia went with her willingly, chattering away about being a carrot in the play. Eleanor responded seriously to each statement, treating the 5-year-old like an equal. "She's good with kids," Brianna whispered to Julian. "She used to run a daycare. Before she retired." "You didn't mention that." "I'm learning there's a lot I don't talk about." They followed the voices to the kitchen, where Eleanor was showing Nia how to snap green beans. The little girl was focused intensely on the task, her tongue stuck out slightly. "These will be the best green beans ever," Eleanor declared. "Because Nia helped make them." During dinner, Eleanor asked Brianna about her work at the hospital, her plans for nursing school, her life. But unlike so many people who asked questions just to be polite, Eleanor actually listened to the answers. "Single parenting is the hardest job in the world," Eleanor said at one point. "I did it myself for several years when Julian's father left." "I didn't know that," Brianna said, glancing at Julian. "Julian doesn't talk about it much. His father decided being a parent was too difficult when Julian was 6. So it was just us until I remarried when Julian was 12. Eleanor looked at her son. "I think that's why he understands what you're going through better than most. That and Mom taught me that family isn't about biology. It's about showing up and staying." Eleanor nodded approvingly. Then she turned to Brianna. "My son tells me he's helping with Nia's preschool and your education." "Yes, ma'am. He's been very generous." "Generosity is easy when you have money. The question is whether you're doing it for the right reasons. Eleanor looked at Julian. Why are you doing this? Mom? I'm not criticizing. I want to hear you say it out loud. Julian set down his fork. Because I love them. Because Brianna works herself to exhaustion taking care of everyone else, and someone should take care of her for a change. Because Nia deserves to have opportunities. Because making their lives easier makes me happier than any business deal ever has. The table went quiet. Even Nia stopped eating to look at the adults. Well, Eleanor said finally, it's about time you figured out what mattered. After dinner, Eleanor took Nia out to the garden to look at the flowers while Julian and Brianna cleaned up in the kitchen. Your mom is intense, Brianna said, washing dishes. That's putting it mildly. But I like her. She's honest, direct. I always know where I stand with people like that. She likes you too. I can tell. How? She asked you to come back next Sunday. She only does that with people she wants to know better. Brianna smiled. Really? Really? Through the window they could see Eleanor and Nia examining roses. The elderly woman was explaining something seriously while Nia listened with rapt attention. She's good for Nia, Brianna said softly. Having another adult who cares about her. Someone besides me and Mrs. Chen. She's good for all of us. They finished the dishes in comfortable silence. Then Julian took Brianna's hand and led her to the porch, where they could watch Nia and Eleanor in the garden. I meant what I said at dinner. About what? About loving you. Both of you. Julian turned to face her. I know it's fast. I know we've only known each other a few weeks. But I'm falling in love with you, Brianna. With your strength and your kindness and the way you put everyone else first. And I love Nia like she's already mine. Brianna's eyes filled with tears. Julian? You don't have to say anything back. I just needed you to know. I'm scared. Of how fast this is moving. Of how much I'm starting to depend on you. Of how much Nia adores you. She wiped her eyes. But I'm falling too. I fight it every day telling myself to slow down, to be careful. And then you show up to a preschool play or help with glasses or tell your mother you love us and I fall a little bit more. Julian kissed her then, soft and slow and full of promise. When they pulled apart, Brianna rested her head on his shoulder. What are we doing? Building something real. Something that lasts. I want to believe that. Then believe it. Trust it. Trust me. I'm trying. Nia came running up the porch steps. Mommy? Mrs. Eleanor showed me roses and tulips and something called a peony. That sounds wonderful, baby. She said I can help her plant bulbs next time. Can we come back? Brianna looked at Julian, who nodded. Yes, we can come back. Yay. Nia hugged both of them. On the drive home, Nia fell asleep within 5 minutes, exhausted from the day. Brianna watched the scenery pass, holding Julian's hand across the console. Thank you for today. For introducing us to your mother. She gestured vaguely. Everything. Thank you for coming. For giving this a chance. For letting me in. Julian, I need to tell you something. Okay. The apartment we're in. The lease is up at the end of the year. I've been looking for something better, safer. But everything in a decent neighborhood is so expensive. Move in with me. Brianna's head whipped around. What? Move in with me. My penthouse has 4 bedrooms. Nia could have her own space. You'd be closer to the hospital. No more worrying about rent or safety or whether the heat works. Julian, we can't just. Why not? We're together. I love you. You need a place to live. It makes sense. It makes sense in a fantasy. In real life, moving in together after a few weeks is crazy. Is it? Or is it practical? Julian glanced at her. I'm not asking you to marry me. I'm just asking you to let me help in a bigger way. No pressure. No expectations. Just, let me take care of you the way you take care of everyone else. Brianna was quiet for a long time. Can I think about it? Of course. I need to make sure this is right for Nia. That I'm not moving too fast just because it feels good. Take all the time you need. The offer stands. When Julian pulled up to Brianna's building, he helped carry a sleeping Nia upstairs. As he laid her on the bed, Brianna stood in the doorway watching. You're good with her. She makes it easy. No, you're just naturally good at it. Like it's something you've always known how to do. Julian straightened. I never thought I'd be a parent. Figured I missed that chance. But with Nia it doesn't feel like work. It feels like joy. Brianna crossed the room and wrapped her arms around him. Move in. Let's do it. Let's be crazy and impractical and take this leap. Are you sure? No. But I'm sure about you. About this. About wanting to wake up next to you and not on a mattress on the floor. She laughed, half crying. Let's do it. Julian held her tight. We'll make it work. I promise. I'm counting on that. They stood there for a long time, holding each other in the dim light of the small apartment that would soon be their past, thinking about the future they were building one brave choice at a time. The story broke on a Wednesday morning. Julian was in a meeting when Patricia burst in, tablet in hand and panic in her eyes. Sir, we have a problem. Julian excused himself and followed Patricia to his office. She pulled up a tabloid website and Julian's stomach sank. The headline screamed, Billionaire CEO's new gold digger. Single mother moves in after 2-week romance. Below it was a photo of Julian, Brianna, and Nia leaving his mother's house. Someone had been watching them. Waiting. Gordon Pierce, Julian said through clenched teeth. Most likely. He's been looking for leverage ever since you outbid him on the Richardson contract. Gordon Pierce was Julian's main business rival, a ruthless corporate raider who played dirty. Apparently, he'd decided Julian's personal life was fair game. Julian scrolled through the article. It painted Brianna as an opportunistic woman using her daughter to trap a wealthy man. It questioned Nia's parentage. It implied Brianna had planned the whole thing from the dating service mix-up onward. None of this is true, Julian said. I know that. You know that. But the internet doesn't care about truth. Brianna is at work. Has anyone from the press contacted the hospital? Not that we know of. Julian immediately called Brianna. She answered on the third ring, sounding tired. Hey, I just woke up. My shift doesn't start until tonight. Brianna, don't go online. Don't look at any news sites or social media. What? Why? He explained about the article, watching through his office window as the city moved on, uncaring about the chaos unfolding in his life. Brianna was quiet for so long he thought she'd hung up. Brianna? I knew this would happen. Her voice was hollow. I knew it was too good to be true. People like me don't get fairy tale endings. This isn't an ending. It's just noise. Brianna, listen to me. They think I'm using you. They think I'm using my daughter to get your money. She laughed bitterly. Maybe they're right. Maybe I am just a gold digger who got lucky. Stop. You know that's not true. Do I? We've known each other less than a month, Julian. I'm moving into your penthouse. You're paying for Nia's school. How does this look from the outside? I don't care how it looks. I do. I care that people at the hospital will see this. That Nia's preschool teachers will see it. That everyone will think I'm exactly what that headline says. Then we'll prove them wrong. How? By holding a press conference? By defending our relationship to strangers? Brianna's voice cracked. I can't do this. I can't put Nia through this. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe we moved too fast. Maybe we should slow down. Maybe I should find my own apartment and we should take a break until this dies down. No. Julian's voice was firm. Absolutely not. That's exactly what Gordon Pierce wants. He wants to drive us apart. He wants to win. I won't let him. This isn't about winning or losing, Julian. This is about my daughter's well-being. Nia needs you happy. And you're happy with me. Don't let fear and some tabloid trash talk you out of what we're building. I need to think. Brianna. I have to go. Mrs. Chin is bringing Nia back from preschool soon. I need to figure out what to say if she's heard anything. Don't shut me out. Please. I'll call you later. She hung up before Julian could say anything else. He stared at his phone, feeling helpless and furious in equal measure. What do you want to do? Patricia asked. Get me Gordon Pierce on the phone. Sir, engaging with him might. I don't care. Get him on the phone. Now. 5 minutes later, Gordon Pierce's smug voice filled Julian's office. Julian. I was wondering when you'd call. Pull the story. What story? I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't play games. I know you leaked this to the tabloids. Pull it or I'll make your life very difficult. Is that a threat? It's a promise. You want to play dirty? Fine. But leave Brianna and Nia out of it. They're not part of our business rivalry. They became part of it when you decided to parade them around like a happy little family. Gordon's voice turned cold. You've always been better at the business than me, Julian. But I'm better at everything else. And I'm going to prove it. By going after innocent people? By showing the world what a fraud you are. The noble billionaire with a heart of gold? Please. You're using that woman and her kid for good publicity. Probably trying to soften your image for the upcoming merger. Don't pretend this is love. It is love. And you're so bitter and alone you can't even recognize what that looks like. Julian hung up before Gordon could respond. He immediately called his lawyer. I want a cease and desist sent to every tabloid running this story. I want a lawsuit prepared against Gordon Pierce for defamation and invasion of privacy. And I want it done today. That's aggressive, Julian. They attacked my family. I'm going to be a lot more than aggressive. But even as he made plans and issued orders, Julian couldn't shake the fear in Brianna's voice. She was pulling away, protecting herself and Nia the only way she knew how. He wouldn't let her go. Not without a fight. That evening, Julian showed up at Brianna's apartment unannounced. She answered the door in sweatpants and an old t-shirt, eyes red from crying. I told you I'd call. I couldn't wait. He stepped inside without being invited. Where's Nia? Mrs. Chin has her for a few hours. I needed time to think. And what did you think? Brianna wrapped her arms around herself. That maybe this is a sign. That maybe we're not meant to do this. Or maybe it's a test. And we pass by not giving up. You don't understand what it's like, Julian. To be judged. To have people assume the worst. I've dealt with that my whole life. Being a young black single mother, people always assume things. That I'm lazy, that I'm using the system, that I got pregnant on purpose to trap someone. And now they're saying it again but on a bigger scale. So we prove them wrong. How? She threw up her hands. How do we prove to millions of strangers that what we have is real? Julian crossed the room and took her hands. By not caring what they think. By living our lives. By being together because we want to be, not because we're trying to prove anything to anyone. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. Brianna, I love you. I love Nia. Some tabloid garbage doesn't change that. Gordon Pierce doesn't change that. Nothing changes that except you deciding it's not worth fighting for. I'm scared. I know. Me too. But I'm more scared of losing you. Brianna closed her eyes, tears streaming down her face. What if it gets worse? What if they keep digging? What if they find out about Nia's father leaving? What if they make her life miserable? Then we handle it. Together. Julian cupped her face gently. I'm not him, Brianna. I won't leave when things get hard. I'm here. I'm staying. No matter what. Promise me. I promise. On everything I have, everything I am, I promise I'm not going anywhere. Brianna collapsed into his arms, sobbing. Julian held her while she cried out all the fear and doubt and pain. He stroked her hair and whispered reassurances and reminded himself that loving someone meant standing with them through the hard parts, not just the easy ones. When she finally pulled back, her eyes were swollen but clearer. Okay. Okay. Okay, we fight. Okay, we don't give up. Okay, we tell Gordon Pierce and the tabloids and everyone else to go to hell. Julian smiled. That's my girl. But I want to do something. I don't want to just ignore it. What do you want to do? I want to tell our story. The real one. Not some twisted tabloid version. I want people to know that what we have is real. How? Brianna thought for a moment. Interview. With a real journalist. Someone respectable. We tell them everything. How we met, why we're together, what we mean to each other. And we let people decide for themselves if they believe it. Are you sure? That's putting yourself out there in a big way. I'm sure. Because I'm not ashamed of loving you. I'm not ashamed of accepting help when I need it. And I want Nia to see that you stand up for what matters. Julian kissed her hard and deep. Have I mentioned that I love you? Once or twice. But I don't mind hearing it again. I love you, Brianna Cole. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving it. Good. Because you're stuck with me now. They spent the evening making plans. Julian would arrange an interview with a respected journalist. They would tell their story honestly. And they would face whatever came next together. When Mrs. Chen brought Nia home, the little girl ran straight to Julian. Mr. Julian, I painted you a picture at school. It's you and me and Mommy as flowers. It's beautiful, Julian said, examining the painting seriously. 3 flowers in a row, 1 tall, 1 medium, 1 small. A family. Are you staying for dinner? Julian looked at Brianna, who nodded. I'm staying for dinner. Yeah. We're having spaghetti. Mommy makes the best spaghetti. As they ate together in the tiny apartment, Julian realized something important. It didn't matter where they lived or what people said about them or how much money he had. What mattered was this. Sitting around a small table, eating spaghetti with sauce on everyone's face, laughing at Nia's jokes, feeling Brianna's foot brush against his under the table. This was home. And he'd fight to protect it. The interview was scheduled for the following week. Julia Martinez, a respected journalist known for her fair but thorough reporting, agreed to meet with them at Julian's penthouse. Brianna had 3 days off from the hospital, time she usually spent sleeping. Instead, she spent it moving her and Nia's belongings into Julian's home. "This is so big," Nia announced for the 15th time, running through the penthouse. "Mommy, look. My room has a princess bed." Julian had spent the last week having the spare bedroom converted into a space perfect for a 5-year-old. Pink walls, stars painted on the ceiling, and yes, a bed that looked like something from a fairy tale. "It's too much," Brianna said, but she was smiling. "It's just enough." Julian wrapped his arms around her waist from behind. "She deserves to feel special. She already does. You make sure of that every day." They'd been living together for 3 days now, and it was both easier and harder than Brianna had expected. Easier because it felt natural, like they'd been doing this for years. Harder because she kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, for Julian to realize what he'd signed up for and back away. But he didn't. Instead, he learned Nia's bedtime routine, helped with her bath, read her stories with funny voices that made her giggle. He learned that Brianna needed coffee before conversation in the morning and that she liked to fall asleep watching old movies. He left notes for her to find when she woke up from sleeping during the day, little reminders that he was thinking of her. "Mommy, can we go swimming? Mr. Julian says there's a pool on the roof." "Maybe later, baby. We have company coming tomorrow, remember? The lady with the questions?" "That's right." Nia skipped over to Julian. "Are you my daddy now?" The question stopped everyone cold. Brianna froze, unsure how to respond. Julian knelt down to Nia's level. "I'd like to be, if that's okay with you. But that's something your mom and I need to talk about first." "Okay. But I think you'd be a good daddy. You're nice and you buy ice cream." After Nia went to play in her new room, Brianna and Julian stood in the kitchen, both aware of the weight of that casual question. "She's getting attached," Brianna said quietly. "Is that a problem? What if something happens? What if we don't work out? Then we make sure we do work out." Julian pulled her close. "Brianna, I want to adopt Nia. Officially. Legally. Make her mine in every way that matters." "Julian, I know her biological father signed away his rights. I looked into it. I want to be her father. Not just in practice but on paper. I want her to have my name if she wants it. I want her to know she's mine forever." Brianna's eyes filled with tears. "You've really thought about this?" "I think about it every time she calls me Mr. Julian. Every time she reaches for my hand. Every time she looks at me with those big eyes and trusts me completely." He cupped Brianna's face. "I want to be her father. Will you let me?" "Yes," Brianna whispered. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." They kissed, deep and full of promise. From her bedroom, they heard Nia singing to herself, happy and safe in her new home. The next day, Julia Martinez arrived exactly on time. She was a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a kind smile. "Thank you for agreeing to this," she said as they settled in the living room. "Thank you for being willing to tell the truth," Julian responded. "That's always my goal." Julia set up her recorder. "Shall we begin?" For the next 2 hours they told their story. The dating service mix-up, the dinner, the connection they'd felt immediately. Brianna talked about being a single mother, about the struggles and joys. Julian talked about being lonely despite his wealth. "So this wasn't a calculated move on either of your parts?" Julia asked. "The only thing I calculated that first night was whether I had enough money for bus fare home," Brianna said with a laugh. "I thought I was going to dinner at maybe a nice chain restaurant. When the elevator opened to a penthouse, I almost ran." "What made you stay?" "Julian. He saw us, really saw us, and invited us to dinner anyway. No judgment. No expectations. Just kindness." "And you, Mr. Ashford? What made you invite them to stay?" Julian looked at Brianna, then at the doorway where Nia was peeking around, trying to be stealthy. Nia asked if the penthouse was heaven. And her mother looked mortified. There was something so honest about it. So real. "I spend every day surrounded by people who want something from me. They wanted nothing. They were just themselves. And I realized I'd been waiting my whole life to meet people like that. Some people say you're being used. That Miss Cole is taking advantage of your wealth. Those people don't know Brianna. She's the strongest, most independent person I've met. She's worked 2 jobs, raised an incredible daughter alone, and never once complained. She doesn't need my money. But I need her. I need what she and Nia have brought into my life. Purpose, love, family. Miss Cole, how do you respond to accusations that you're a gold digger?" Brianna met Julia's eyes steadily. I'd say they've never struggled to feed their child. Never laid awake at night wondering if they should skip meals so their daughter could eat. Never felt the shame of having to accept help from food banks and community programs. She paused. When Julian offered to help, my first instinct was to refuse. Pride is easy when you're comfortable. But I learned that accepting help with grace is actually the braver choice. And yes, Julian has helped us financially. But what he's really given us is something money can't buy: a family. Someone who shows up. Someone who stays. That's worth more than any amount of dollars. Julia nodded thoughtfully. And the speed of your relationship? You've been together less than 2 months and already living together. When you know, Julian said simply. I wasted years dating people I knew weren't right. With Brianna, everything clicked into place. Why waste more time pretending I need to follow some arbitrary timeline? Some might say you're moving too fast, especially with a child involved. Those people aren't thinking about what's best for Nia, Brianna said. What's best for her is having a stable home with people who love her. Julian has been nothing but wonderful to my daughter. He shows up to her preschool events. He knows her favorite color is red. He learns her friends' names and asks about her day. That's what makes a parent, not biology or length of relationship. Nia couldn't help herself anymore and came running into the room. Are you talking about me? Julia smiled. We are. Would you like to say hello? Hi. I'm Nia. I'm 5. Mr. Julian is going to be my daddy. Everyone froze. Brianna started to correct her, but Julian beat her to it. That's right, sweetheart. If you want me to be. I do. You're the best daddy ever. I haven't even officially started yet. You started the day you came to my carrot play. Nia climbed onto Julian's lap like she'd been doing it forever. Daddies are people who love you and take care of you and show up. That's you. Julia's eyes were suspiciously bright. I think I have everything I need for the story. After she left, Brianna put Nia down for a nap and returned to find Julian staring out the window. You okay? She called me daddy. I know. I'm sorry, I should have prepared her better. No, it's perfect. It's right. Julian turned to face her. I meant what I said. I want to adopt her. I want to be her father in every way. The process takes time. I have time. I have the rest of my life. Brianna crossed the room and wrapped her arms around him. I love you. You know that, right? This isn't about the money or the penthouse or any of the things people say. It's about you. The man you are. The man who shows up and stays. I love you too. Both of you. You're my family now. Family, Brianna repeated, testing the word. I like the sound of that. The article came out 3 days later. It was fair, balanced, and honest. Julia Martinez had captured their story perfectly, including the challenges and the love. The headline read, When a Mix-Up Leads to Real Love, the Ashford Cole Story. The response was overwhelmingly positive. People shared the article, commented with support, and the tabloid stories dried up. Gordon Pierce had no more ammunition. But the best response came from an unexpected source, Nia's preschool teacher. Miss Cole? I just wanted to say I read the article about you and Mr. Ashford. It was beautiful. And I wanted you to know that we've all seen how much happier Nia has been lately. Whatever you're doing, it's working. She's thriving. That night, Julian formally asked Nia if he could be her father. I've been your daddy for weeks already, she said matter-of-factly. But okay. You can be my official daddy. And just like that, the pieces of their new family clicked into place. Still wondering if this kind of love is real? Still doubting that families can be built from chance meetings and brave choices? Subscribe to follow Julian, Brianna, and Nia's journey. Comment below, what does family mean to you? Is it about biology or about who shows up? Share your thoughts and help spread this message of hope to others who need to hear it. 3 months had passed since Brianna and Nia moved into the penthouse. Fall had given way to winter, and the city sparkled with early snow. Brianna had been accepted into the nursing program starting in January, Nia was flourishing in preschool, and Julian had learned what it meant to put family first. He'd also learned that being part of a family meant navigating new challenges. Like the morning Nia refused to go to school because her friends said families needed a mommy and a daddy who were married. But you're not married, Nia said, her lower lip trembling. Does that mean we're not a real family? Brianna shot Julian a helpless look. They'd been so focused on building their life together that they hadn't discussed marriage beyond vague future plans. Marriage doesn't make a family real, Brianna said gently. Love does. But Emily's mom said. Emily's mom doesn't get to decide what makes our family real, Julian said firmly. We're a family because we choose each other every single day. That's more real than any piece of paper. But after Nia left for school, the conversation lingered. Do you want to get married? Brianna asked, both of them pretending to focus on breakfast. Eventually. Do you? I don't need a wedding. I just need this. What we have. But. Julian could hear the unspoken word. But I'd be lying if I said I never thought about it. About you being my husband. About Nia having your last name. About. She trailed off. About being official, Julian finished. In every way. They left it there, both unsure how to bridge the gap between what they wanted and what felt too soon to ask for. That afternoon, Julian found himself in his mother's garden. Eleanor was planting bulbs for spring, her hands dirty and her expression peaceful. You look troubled, she observed. How do you know when it's time to get married? Eleanor sat back on her heels. Is this about Brianna? Nia's classmate said we're not a real family because we're not married. It got me thinking. About? About whether I should propose. We've only been together 4 months. Is that too soon? Your father proposed to me after 3 weeks. We were married 50 years before he passed. Eleanor smiled at the memory. Time doesn't matter, Julian. Certainty does. Are you certain about Brianna? Absolutely. Are you certain about being Nia's father? More than anything. Then what are you waiting for? Julian helped his mother plant bulbs, thinking. That evening he drove to a jewelry store he'd been researching for weeks. The owner, Mr. Chin, no relation to Brianna's neighbor, greeted him warmly. Mr. Ashford. I've been expecting you. You have. A man doesn't make 3 appointments to look at engagement rings without eventually buying one. Mr. Chin pulled out a tray. Now tell me about her. Julian described Brianna, her strength, her kindness, the way she put everyone else first. He mentioned that she was practical, that she'd probably hate anything too flashy. He explained that she loved simple things, honest things. Mr. Chin pulled out a ring, a simple platinum band with a modest diamond, elegant and understated. This one, Julian said immediately. You're certain? Most men take much longer to decide. I'm certain. When you know, you know. The ring burned in Julian's pocket for 3 days. He waited for the perfect moment, some romantic setup worthy of a movie. But the perfect moment never came. Life kept happening. Nia's school play, Brianna's shift changes, grocery shopping and laundry, and the mundane reality of living together. Finally, on a Saturday morning, Julian gave up on perfect. They were at the park watching Nia play on the swings. It was cold and gray, threatening snow. Brianna wore an old blue coat and a hat Mrs. Chen had knitted. She looked beautiful. Brianna. She didn't take her eyes off Nia. Marry me. She turned slowly. What? Julian pulled out the ring. Marry me. Not because Nia's classmates think we should be married. Not because of what anyone else thinks. Marry me because I love you and I want to spend the rest of my life proving it. Marry me because I want to be your husband and Nia's father. Marry me because you're my home. Tears streamed down Brianna's face. You're serious. Completely. We've only been together 4 months. And I've known I wanted to marry you since week 1. That's crazy. So is most of how we got here. But I wouldn't change a thing. Julian stood, the ring in his hand. I'm not asking for a huge wedding or anything fancy. I'm just asking you to say yes to building this life together. Officially. Permanently. Brianna looked at the ring, then at Nia laughing on the swings, then at Julian. Yes. Yes. Yes, I'll marry you. Yes, I want to be your wife. Yes, I want Nia to have your name. Yes to all of it. Julian slipped the ring on her finger and they kissed while Nia shouted from the swings, You. Kissing is gross. Come here, sweetheart. Brianna called. Nia ran over and Julian knelt down to her level. I asked your mom to marry me and she said yes. That means I'll officially be your dad. How do you feel about that? Nia threw her arms around his neck. I feel happy. Can I be a flower girl? Emily was a flower girl at her cousin's wedding, and she got to throw flowers everywhere. You can definitely be our flower girl. And can I call you Daddy instead of Mr. Julian now? I'd like that very much. Okay, Daddy. Nia tested the word, then beamed. I like it. The wedding planning was simple. They decided on a small ceremony at Eleanor's house in 2 months, just family and close friends. No press, no spectacle, just the people who mattered. The adoption papers were filed the same week. Julian's lawyer assured them the process would be straightforward since Nia's biological father had signed away all rights. Within a few months she'll legally be Nia Ashford, the lawyer said. Julian and Brianna held hands, both overwhelmed by the reality of what they were building. Life settled into a new normal. Brianna started her nursing program, balancing classes with her hospital shifts. Julian adjusted his work schedule to be home more, to help with Nia's homework and bedtime routine. Mrs. Chen became a regular presence, babysitting when needed and offering wisdom when asked. One evening about a month before the wedding, Nia asked Julian to help her write a letter. To who? Julian asked, pulling out paper and crayons. To my old daddy. The one who left. Brianna, overhearing from the kitchen, went very still. What do you want to say to him? Julian asked carefully. That I have a new daddy now. A better one. One who stays. Nia thought hard. And that I'm happy. I want him to know I'm happy. Julian helped her write the letter, keeping it simple and honest. When they finished, Nia carefully folded it. We don't have to send it if you don't want to, Julian said. I want to. I want him to know he didn't win. That even though he left, we're okay. We're better than okay. Later that night, after Nia was asleep, Brianna found the letter on the kitchen counter. She read it, tears streaming down her face. She's so strong, she told Julian. Stronger than I ever was at her age. Stronger than I am now. She gets that from you. No, she gets it from us. From this family we're building. From knowing she's loved and protected and that we'll never leave her. Julian pulled Brianna close. Never. I promise. I know. I believe you now. Completely. The wedding day arrived cold and clear. Eleanor's house was decorated with simple white flowers. Nia wore a bright red dress and carried a basket of petals. Brianna wore a beautiful blue gown that made her look like royalty. Julian stood at the makeshift altar in Eleanor's living room, Patricia beside him as best woman, and watched Brianna walk toward him. There was no grand processional, no orchestra. Just Brianna walking across a room to meet him, Nia skipping ahead throwing petals everywhere. The ceremony was short. They'd written their own vows. I promise to show up, Julian said. Every day in every way that matters. I promise to love you when it's easy and when it's hard. I promise to be the father Nia deserves and the husband you need. I promise to never stop choosing you. I promise to trust you, Brianna said, her voice steady despite her tears. To let you in even when it's scary. I promise to build this life with you, to be your partner in everything. I promise to remind you every day that you are loved beyond measure. And I promise to never forget that sometimes the best things come from the most unexpected places. They exchanged rings. The minister pronounced them husband and wife. Nia cheered and everyone laughed. At the reception, such as it was, Eleanor pulled Julian aside. Your father would have been proud of the man you've become. But more than that, he would have loved Brianna and Nia. They're good for you. They're everything for me, Julian corrected. The adoption papers were finalized 2 weeks after the wedding. The judge was a kind woman in her 60s who smiled at their family. It's not often I see adoptions this clear-cut, she said. Mr. Ashford, you understand that by adopting Nia, you are committing to be her father in every legal sense? That you are responsible for her well-being, her future, her life. I understand. And there's nothing I want more. And Nia, do you understand that Mr. Ashford will be your daddy? Not just in your heart, but officially? He's already my daddy, Nia said seriously. This just makes it more real. The judge laughed. Out of the mouths of babes. Congratulations, Ashford family. May you have many happy years together. When they received the official adoption certificate, Julian framed it and hung it in Nia's room, right next to her artwork and school pictures. That night, he tucked Nia into bed, something he'd been doing for months but which felt different now. Good night, Daddy, Nia said, already half asleep. Good night, sweetheart. I love you. Love you too. Thanks for picking us. Julian kissed her forehead. Thank you for letting me. In their bedroom, Brianna was already asleep, exhausted from a long shift. Julian climbed in beside her and she instinctively curled into him. He lay awake for a while, thinking about the journey that had brought them here. A dating service mix-up. A dinner that should have been awkward but turned magical. Two people brave enough to take a chance on something unexpected. And now they were a family. Official. Legal. Real. Julian finally understood what his mother had meant. Time didn't matter. Certainty did. And he'd never been more certain of anything in his life. The week before Thanksgiving brought the first real snowstorm of the season. Nia pressed her nose to the penthouse windows, watching the city transform into a winter wonderland. Can we go play in the snow, Daddy? After breakfast, Julian promised, flipping pancakes. He'd become quite good at cooking over the past few months, a skill he'd never bothered to learn in his previous life. Brianna emerged from the bedroom in her scrubs, having just woken up from sleeping during the day. Her shift started in 2 hours. "I still can't get used to you cooking," she said, kissing him good morning. "I'm a man of many talents. I'm starting to notice." The morning was peaceful. Pancakes, laughter, Nia's chatter about the Thanksgiving play at school where she would be a turkey. Julian drove Brianna to the hospital, then took Nia to the park to build a snowman. When they returned home, frozen and happy, there was a letter waiting. It had been slipped under the door, no postage, hand-delivered. Julian's blood ran cold when he saw the return address. Or rather, the lack of one. Just a name written in neat handwriting, Brianna's ex-husband. He hid the letter, not wanting to ruin the day. That evening, after Nia was asleep, he showed it to Brianna. She went pale. "How did he find us?" "The article. The interview. Our names were all over it." "What does he want?" Her hands shook as she opened the envelope. The letter was short. "Brianna, I saw the article about you and Julian Ashford. Congratulations on your marriage. I know I have no right to contact you after what I did, but I was hoping we could meet. I'm not looking to cause trouble. I just want to talk. I'll be at Antonio's restaurant on Friday at 7. Please come. It's important. Marcus." Brianna crumpled the letter. "No, absolutely not. I'm not meeting with him. What if he has legal concerns? About Nia? He signed away his rights. The adoption is final. He has no claim on her. But what if he tries to make one?" Julian hated the fear creeping into his voice. What if he's seen the pictures of Nia, seen how happy she is and wants back in? He can't just decide he wants to be a father now. It doesn't work that way. Money makes a lot of things work in ways they shouldn't. They sat in silence, both thinking about the implications. Finally, Brianna spoke. "I'll meet with him. But you're coming with me. And we're bringing a lawyer." Julian called their attorney immediately. Despite it being late evening, she answered. "Marcus Johnson signed away all parental rights 3 years ago," she confirmed after looking at the records. "Even if he wanted to contest the adoption, he'd have almost no legal standing. But it would be better to know what he wants before assuming the worst." Friday arrived with excruciating slowness. Julian couldn't focus at work. Brianna was jumpy and distracted. They told Mrs. Chen they had a business dinner and asked her to watch Nia overnight, not wanting to explain the truth. Antonio's restaurant felt different at night. Less cheerful, more serious. They arrived 10 minutes early, their lawyer with them. Marcus was already there, sitting at a corner table. He looked different than the picture Brianna had shown Julian. Older, thinner, with lines around his eyes that spoke of hard living. He stood when they approached, nervous. "Brianna, thank you for coming. What do you want, Marcus?" Her voice was ice. "To talk. Just talk." He noticed Julian. "You must be the new husband." "I'm the only husband that matters," Julian said firmly. "I'm also Nia's legal father." "I know. I read the article." Marcus gestured to the chairs. "Please sit. I'm not here to cause trouble." They sat, tension thick enough to cut. Their lawyer remained standing, a silent sentinel. "I saw the pictures of Nia," Marcus started. "She looks happy. Healthy." "She is," Brianna said. "No thanks to you. I know. I was a terrible father. A terrible husband. I left when things got hard and I've regretted it every day since. If this is about getting visitation." "It's not. I promise." Marcus took a breath. 5 months ago I got sober. Really sober, not just pretending. I joined AA. Got a sponsor. Started actually dealing with my problems instead of running from them." "Good for you," Brianna said, her voice still cold. "But that doesn't change what you did." "I know. Nothing changes that. But part of my recovery is making amends. I owe you an apology. A real one." Julian watched Marcus carefully, looking for signs of deception. All he saw was a broken man trying to put himself back together. "I was scared," Marcus continued. "When Nia got sick, when the doctor's bills started piling up, when I realized being a father meant sacrifice and hard work and showing up even when you're terrified. I panicked. And instead of being honest, instead of asking for help, I ran. I told myself you were better off without me. But the truth is I was a coward." Brianna's eyes filled with tears. "Do you have any idea what you did to us? How hard it's been? I can't imagine. But I see from the article that you survived. More than survived. You thrived. You're a nurse practitioner student now. Nia's in a good school. You found someone who loves you both the right way. What do you want, Marcus?" Julian asked. Why really contact us? Because I need you to know I'm sorry. Because Nia deserves to know that my leaving wasn't her fault. Was mine. All mine. He looked at Brianna. And because I wanted to give you this. Marcus pulled out an envelope and slid it across the table. Brianna opened it cautiously. Inside were legal documents. It's a formal relinquishment of any future claims to Nia, their lawyer said, reading over Brianna's shoulder. He's legally stating he will never contest the adoption or try to establish parental rights. I wanted you to have peace of mind, Marcus explained. I wanted you to know that I'm not going to show up in 5 years or 10 years asking to be part of her life. She has a father now. A good one from what I read. That's what she deserves. Brianna was crying openly now. Why now? Why not 3 years ago? Because 3 years ago I was still running. Still lying to myself. I'm not that person anymore. Or at least I'm trying not to be. Marcus's voice cracked. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. And thank you. Thank you? Brianna repeated. For being strong enough to do it alone. For giving Nia a good life despite me. For finding someone who treats you both the way I never could. He looked at Julian. Take care of them. They're special. I know, Julian said. And I will. Every day. Marcus stood. That's all I needed to say. I'll leave you alone now. I needed you to know. I needed to try to make it right. He walked out of the restaurant, leaving them sitting in stunned silence. What just happened? Brianna finally said. I think, their lawyer said slowly, he actually just apologized. And gave you legal protection. I've never seen anything like it. Julian pulled Brianna close. Are you okay? I don't know. I thought I'd feel angry. Or vindicated. But I just feel sad. For him. For what he missed. For what could have been if he'd been strong enough to stay. His loss. My gain. Our gain, Brianna corrected. Nia's gain. This family's gain. They drove home in silence, both processing what had happened. When they got back to the penthouse, Mrs. Chen was reading in the living room, Nia asleep in her bedroom. How was your dinner? Mrs. Chen asked. Unexpected, Julian said. But maybe necessary. After Mrs. Chen left, Julian and Brianna stood at Nia's bedroom door, watching her sleep. Should we tell her? Brianna asked. About Marcus? Maybe when she's older. When she can understand it better. For now, let her just be happy. She is happy. We all are. Despite everything. Or maybe because of it. Julian wrapped his arms around his wife. Every challenge we've faced has made us stronger. Do you think Marcus will really stay away? Yes, I do. I think he meant what he said. Me too. Which is strange. I thought I'd be angry forever. But watching him apologize, seeing him try to make amends, it gave me closure I didn't know I needed. They went to bed that night feeling lighter, the ghost of the past finally laid to rest. Tomorrow was Thanksgiving. Tomorrow they would gather with Eleanor and Mrs. Chen and celebrate everything they had to be grateful for. And they had so much to be grateful for. Each other, Nia, this unexpected family they'd built from a chance meeting and brave choices. Some stories, Julian thought as he fell asleep, don't follow the rules. They don't unfold the way they're supposed to. But that doesn't make them any less real. Sometimes the best stories are the ones that surprise you. Thanksgiving morning dawned bright and cold. The penthouse smelled like Eleanor's famous apple pie, which she'd brought over at dawn, insisting on helping with preparations despite Julian's protest that he had it handled. A man who can barely make toast 6 months ago doesn't have Thanksgiving dinner handled, Eleanor said, tying on an apron. Let me help. Nia was beside herself with excitement, wearing a bright green dress and the red glasses she'd picked out months ago. She'd drawn a picture of a turkey for everyone, her version of place cards. This one is for Daddy, she said, showing Julian. I made his turkey smile because you're always happy now. I am always happy, Julian agreed. Because of you and your mom. Mrs. Chen arrived at noon with enough Chinese food to feed an army. For later, she insisted. Thanksgiving is lovely, but nobody makes soup dumplings like my nephew. As they sat around the table, an odd but perfect family, Julian looked at each face. Eleanor, who had supported him even when she didn't understand. Mrs. Chen, who had taken care of Brianna and Nia long before he came into the picture. Brianna, his wife, the strongest person he'd ever known. And Nia, his daughter, who had stolen his heart from the first moment. I want to say something, Julian announced. Before we eat. Speech. Speech. Nia chanted, making everyone laugh. 6 months ago I was alone. Not just physically alone but empty. I had everything money could buy and nothing that mattered. I'd convinced myself that was enough. That I didn't need people, didn't need family, didn't need love. He looked at Brianna. And then a dating service made a mistake. They sent a woman and her daughter to my penthouse instead of some carefully vetted match. And that mistake changed my entire life. Best mistake ever, Nia announced. The best mistake ever, Julian agreed. I learned that family isn't about blood or biology. It's about showing up. It's about choosing each other every single day. It's about being there for the carrot plays and the midnight hospital shifts and the scary moments and the joyful ones. Brianna was crying, smiling through tears. I'm grateful for all of you, Julian continued. For teaching me what actually matters. For giving me a home. For making me a better man. And I'm grateful, Brianna said, standing up, for a man who saw past the circumstances and looked at the people. Who treated my daughter like a treasure from day one. Who showed me that accepting help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Who made me believe in happy endings again. I'm grateful for ice cream, Nia added, making everyone laugh. And for Daddy and Mommy and Grandma Eleanor and Mrs. Chen and my new big bed and… We get the idea, sweetheart, Brianna said fondly. They ate dinner, a chaotic mix of traditional Thanksgiving food and Mrs. Chen's Chinese dishes, with Nia providing running commentary on everything. After dinner, Eleanor insisted on doing dishes while everyone else played games in the living room. That evening, after the guests had gone home and Nia was tucked into bed, Julian and Brianna stood on the penthouse balcony watching the city lights. I got my acceptance letter, Brianna said quietly. From the nursing practitioner program. I start in January. That's wonderful. Why didn't you say something at dinner? Because it's overwhelming and exciting and terrifying all at once. What if I can't handle it? School and work and being a wife and mother? Then we'll figure it out together. That's what families do. Is it always going to be this good? Brianna asked. This happy? No, Julian said honestly. There will be hard days. Fights. Disagreements. Times when we wonder if we're doing anything right. But we'll face them together. And that makes all the difference. Together, Brianna repeated. I'm still getting used to that word. Used to having someone to lean on. You have forever to get used to it. They stood in comfortable silence, watching snow begin to fall over the city. Do you ever think about that first night? Brianna asked. When Nia and I showed up and you thought it was a prank? All the time. How close I came to sending you away. How different my life would be if I had. Do you ever regret it? Taking us on? Julian pulled her close. Not for a single second. You and Nia are the best thing that ever happened to me. You're my family. My home. My everything. Even though we're complicated? Even though we came with baggage and challenges? Especially because of that. Easy isn't real. What we have is real. Brianna kissed him, soft and sweet under the falling snow. I love you, Julian Ashford. Thank you for not sending us away that first night. Thank you for seeing us. For choosing us. Thank you for letting me. For taking a chance on an awkward billionaire who had no idea what he was doing. You're doing pretty well now. I have good teachers. They went inside, where Nia had gotten out of bed and was standing in the hallway. I can't sleep, she announced. The snow is too exciting. Want to watch it from the living room? Julian suggested. We can make hot chocolate. They ended up on the couch, all three of them wrapped in blankets and watching the snow fall. Nia dozed off between them, her head on Brianna's lap and her feet in Julian's. This is perfect, Brianna whispered. This is everything, Julian corrected. The next morning, Julian woke to find Nia sitting on his chest, staring at him intently. Good morning, sweetheart. Daddy, can I ask you something? Always. Are you going to stay forever? Like really forever? Julian sat up, pulling Nia into his lap. Where is this coming from? Emily's dad left. He said he was going to the store and never came back. And my first dad left too. How do I know you won't leave? Julian's heart broke. Come here. He carried Nia to his office and pulled out a folder. Inside were copies of the adoption papers. See this? This is a promise. A legal promise that says I'm your father forever. I can't just leave. Even if I wanted to, which I never would, I couldn't. You're mine, Nia. Legally. Officially. Forever. Really? Really? These papers say I'm your dad and you're my daughter and nothing can change that. Can I keep these? In my room? You can keep copies. I want you to look at them whenever you're scared or worried. I want you to remember that I'm not going anywhere. Nia hugged him tight. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, sweetheart. More than you'll ever know. That afternoon, Julian had copies of the adoption papers framed and hung in Nia's room, right where she could see them from her bed. Brianna found him doing it and leaned against the doorframe, watching. You're a good father. I'm trying. You're succeeding. Do you know how I know? How? Because when Nia is scared, she comes to you. When she's happy, she wants to share it with you. When she needs something, she knows you'll be there. That's what makes a good parent. Not biology. Just showing up. I'll always show up. I know. The months flew by. Brianna started her program and excelled, despite her fears. Nia thrived in school, making friends and learning and growing. Julian adjusted his work schedule, delegating more and trusting his team, so he could be present for the important moments. On Nia's 6th birthday, they threw a party in the penthouse. All her school friends came, along with Eleanor and Mrs. Chin and a few of Brianna's colleagues from the hospital. It was chaos and noise and joy. Julian found himself in the kitchen, watching through the doorway as Brianna helped Nia blow out her candles. His wife and daughter, laughing together, surrounded by people who loved them. His family. Patricia found him there. You look happy, boss. I'm happy. Genuinely, completely happy. It suits you. This whole domestic thing. She smiled. You've changed. In a good way. You're still brilliant at business, but now you have balance. You have perspective. I have a life, Julian corrected. A real one. Finally. After the party, after the guests had gone and the presents were opened and Nia had crashed hard from sugar and excitement, Julian and Brianna sat on their bed, exhausted but content. Another successful birthday, Brianna said. The first of many. Do you ever miss it? Your old life? The simplicity of just working and not worrying about birthday parties and school events. Not even a little bit. That wasn't living. It was just existing. Julian pulled her close. This is living. The mess and the chaos and the constant worry about whether we're doing it right. This is what makes life worth it. Even when Nia put slime in the expensive vase? Even then. Though we should probably move that vase. Brianna laughed. We really should. They lay in the dark, holding each other, listening to the sounds of their home. Nia talking in her sleep in the next room. The city outside their windows. The rhythm of each other's breathing. Julian? Oh. Thank you. For what? For that first night. For inviting us to stay when you could have sent us away. For every day since then. For choosing us. Thank you for letting me. For taking a chance on someone you didn't know. For trusting me with your heart and your daughter. Best decision I ever made. Best mistake the universe ever made, sending you to my door. Not a mistake, Brianna corrected. A gift. Some things are meant to be, even when they don't make sense at first. Especially when they don't make sense. They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other in the home they'd built together. A home filled with love and laughter and the beautiful chaos of family. 6 months later, Brianna graduated from her nursing practitioner program. Julian and Nia sat in the front row, cheering louder than anyone. Eleanor and Mrs. Chen were there too, beaming with pride. That evening they celebrated at Antonio's, their special place. The owner gave them the corner table, the same one where they'd had their first real date. To new beginnings, Julian toasted. To unexpected gifts, Brianna added. To ice cream. Nia chimed in, making everyone laugh. As they ate and talked and celebrated, Julian looked around the table and felt overwhelmed with gratitude. A year ago he'd been alone. Now he had everything. Later, walking home through the cool spring evening, Nia between them holding both their hands, Julian felt peace settle over him like a blanket. What are you thinking? Brianna asked, noticing his expression. That I found home in the most unexpected place. In a woman and a little girl who showed up at my door by accident. That's where home was all along. Home isn't a place, Brianna said softly. It's people. Is this walking through the city with the people you love, knowing you belong to each other. Can we get ice cream? Nia asked, never one to stay serious for long. We just had dinner, Brianna protested. But it's a celebration. And celebrations need ice cream. She has a point, Julian said. Brianna laughed. Fine. But just this once. You say that every time, Nia pointed out. And I mean it every time. They detoured to their favorite ice cream shop, where the owner knew them by name now. Knew that Nia always got chocolate with rainbow sprinkles, that Brianna preferred vanilla, that Julian changed his order every time, still exploring options. As they sat by the window eating ice cream and watching people pass by, Julian realized something important. This was the life he'd been searching for all along. Not the wealth or the success or the recognition. Just this. Simple moments with the people he loved. That was everything. I love you, he said to both of them. In case I don't say it enough. You say it all the time, Brianna assured him. Good. Because it's true. Every single time. We love you too, Daddy, Nia said seriously. Then she grinned. Even when you try to make us eat vegetables. Especially when I try to make you eat vegetables. They walked home as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose. Three people who'd found each other by chance and chosen each other by choice. A family built not on biology but on love, commitment, and the courage to trust in something unexpected. Julian Ashford had built an empire. But his greatest achievement, he now knew, had nothing to do with business. It was this: learning to open his heart. Learning to let people in. Learning that sometimes the best things in life come from the most unlikely sources. Like a dating service mix-up that sent a single mother and her daughter to his penthouse on a random Tuesday evening. Like a woman brave enough to accept help with grace. Like a little girl who asked if a penthouse was heaven and taught a lonely man what heaven actually looked like. It looked like home. It looked like family. It looked like love.